Hello everyone and welcome back to the HyperNest Podcast. During these episodes we discuss with some of the most interesting innovators in the Web3 space and specifically in the DeFi space because it is also our focus. Today I have the incredible pleasure and honor to have a chat with Vladimir, that is the founder of Algebra, and we're going to discuss about the innovation in the DEX space. So what there is now, what there is going to be in the future, and what do we have in terms of infrastructure. But before we dive into it, I would like to ask Vladimir to introduce himself and to tell us a little bit of how he got into Algebra.
Thanks, Alicia. It's great to be here, and thanks for having me. Our story about crypto, so we started in 2017, and our first project was about crypto wheels. So the question is, what will happen with your crypto in case of accident or if you forget your private key, so it will be lost forever. So we develop a no-code platform where you can save your crypto for your kids, wife, and so on. But I would say, unfortunately, because of age in crypto, people not care so much about death and all the stuff in the future. So that's I could not say it was successful stuff. And then we started Algebra in 2021 as a competitor to Uniswap. So we were really excited of what Uniswap is building, and our core idea is to improve it and make it better and make the best decentralized exchange of the market. So that's goal of Algebra.
That's great, and I think it was a long journey because now there are a lot of integration of Algebra. There is a lot of, I think, more than 150 billion in volume so far processed. Tell us a little bit more about where we are now with Algebra.
Yeah, maybe some words. What is Algebra itself?
Yes.
So Algebra is engine for decentralized exchanges. So we do not have own users. We do not have, I would say, own liquidity. But we are responsible for technology which used by, at the moment, more than 100 DEXes on many chains. I think chains is about 80 or something like this. So Algebra is a platform where you can, based on what you can build your own decentralized exchange. Why it's important? Because every product, especially decentralized exchanges, consists of two parts. One part is technology, and another part is like marketing stuff, partnerships, token, community, and we realize that they are completely separated, I would say. And of course, you can like make both parties to make it successful, but we decide to focus on technology, and instead of it's making 100 DEXes, we provide technology to different brands, different names, and we are happy in this role. And regarding their core metrics, so right now it's TVL was up to 300 million. Right now it's I think it's about 250 million, and daily volume, as you already mentioned, was up to 1 billion daily.
Wow. Well, I think that many people probably know Camelot, Tena, right? I mean, I don't know if you want to disclose them, but these are probably some of the most famous, integration of Algebra. I think also QuickSwap and many others. So they might be more familiar with those names because, as you said, you are producing the technology, so you are an infrastructure provider if you want, and they are more kind of building the community and everything around it. But I think that everyone knows. Probably everyone in the Web3 space knows at least a couple of implementation or three or more implementation of Algebra, even if they don't know that it's Algebra, right?
That's true. Yeah, so that's I think one of the big problem for us. So it's we are not so famous because we are B2B project. So we provide technology, and why if you swap on QuickSwap, why should you know what is inside, right? So that's the question. So, but yeah, you're right. So it's right now I think the last success was with a black hole on Avalanche. It's number one DEX.
Wow. Yeah. It was incredible. APY was so juicy. I remember
Yes,
that.
it's fully based on Algebra, right?
All right. Very interesting. And well, let me ask you. I mean, I all the founders I know, of course, they are aware of Algebra because we work only with DeFi founders. Therefore, I think in this community is pretty clear what you are bringing on the table. But for people that are maybe less knowledgeable about it, so why someone shouldn't maybe fork Uniswap and decide to use Algebra instead?
Okay, good question. So first of all, why not to develop own DEX and release it on new chain? So the answer is very simple. It's extremely hard. So we spent 2 years plus to make a technology of Algebra, and it also like requires audits, penetration testing, and a lot of stuff around security and QA. So I would say, so if you decide to make a DEX, you have at least like 2 years in advance to work on this one, and also like money and good developers and so on. So sometimes it doesn't make any sense, because like why you should invest so much to technology if you could take like existing ones. And if you go to the market and decide what products you can use, there is, I would say, only 2 options at the moment. It's old-fashioned DEXs like Uniswap version 3 with constrained liquidity, but without plugins and hooks, which we could discuss later, and Algebra. So whereas you can get most popular modular approach, where you can design own DEX with all the existing features, and what is important to upgrade it. So that's the case. So the answer is very simple. So if you don't plan to invest like 2 years of development and want to get the most innovative technology, you should choose Algebra. If not, maybe it's the best solution is to develop own product which could beat Uniswap and Algebra. Why not?
Okay, so that's also an open invitation, guys. Give it a shot. All right, I like that, and I think that the most interesting part, I guess, it's really, Algebra integral V4, right? Because we are integrating the concept of plugin, and maybe do you want to provide a little bit of foundation to this topic before we get into the details of it?
So you mean how it's designed, or what do you mean?
Yeah, essentially what are plugins, right? And what kind of function, maybe an overview of the functionalities, how they can be integrated, what is the main idea of having a more modular approach?
Okay, so like traditionally DEXs had 2 big problems. There is I would say almost no innovations there. So if you go to like DeFi Llama, you will see that still a lot of volume, not TVL in Uniswap V2 or SushiSwap, or let's say old version of Pancake. So why is this? Because even if you know how to make it better, you somehow have to upgrade it. But it's impossible to upgrade smart contracts in a previous version of the DEXs because it requires full liquidity migration. So contracts were not upgradable. In this case, imagine that you have found a new great idea, and you need to ask all the liquidity providers, guys, please move to a new version. We have a great version, and wait until all of them migrate. Maybe some forget about this one, and so on. So that's a problem. And I think it's one of the greatest problem in blockchain, because like if we look to App Store, you can Facebook application could be upgraded like every day. So we can implement new ideas, test new functionalities, but here it's almost impossible. So that's I think the great problem which we tried to fix and fixed, I believe, by Integral. So right now it's a modular approach which give you ability to upgrade at least part of functionality, and thanks to this innovate and improve your product.
Okay, that's very interesting. Therefore, let's say the Algebra core is not really upgradable, but the plugins on top of it, they can be upgraded even when they are already attached to a pool. Is that correct, or? Yes,
that's correct. So in our architecture, if you want, of course, you can set a special role or like multi-sig, which will be responsible for plugin upgrade. It means that, let's say, you can change dynamic fee for a pool. You can add a whitelist of people who worked with this pool and who can add a liquidity, for example, and so on. So that's our one of the main core difference between us and Uniswap, by the way. So we believe that upgrade for plugins is mandatory on DEX market.
Okay, that's very interesting. And what are the areas where plugin can make a difference or can bring innovation? I think you already mentioned some. We have already discussed about some together. Do you have specific vertical, a sort of categorization?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, at the moment, if we're talking about Integral, you could not change everything. So it's unfortunately, that's because of we want to be it to be secure, right? So we don't want that someone upgrade the plugin and steal liquidity there, right? So we don't want that, like someone create meme token and thanks to plugin upgrade made a rug pull. So unfortunately or fortunately, we have to limit functionality which could be done on plugin and could be upgraded. And how it works. So it's there are, I believe, 3 or 4 places when plugins could be called. So when you create a pool, let's say initialize a pool, you can call external smart contract. When you make a swap, when you add liquidity and remove, and when you make a flash loan. So, for example, if someone wants to make a swap, another smart contract could calculate what's fee for this user who wants to set. For example, if you are like arbitrager and we understood somehow, we want to set it as high as possible. If you're a retail guy, we want to give you a discount because we don't see any risk for equity providers if you trade through our pool. So that's just an example. So thanks to these trigger points, we could change behavior for type of the users, type of the addresses, depending on situation, and so on and so on. So that's how it works. As for types of plugins, I think we already mentioned. So number one, I think the most popular one is regarding dynamic fees and how to change the fees. The second type, I would say, it's about limitations. And since RBA become quite popular, we got a lot of requests how to organize pools for RVE tokens. For example, like there are some types of the users who can buy token. You need to go through KYC. There are another type of liquidators your position, and you also should make the KYC and so on. So, in other words, traditional AMMs do not work in this case, and that's how plugins should be introduced. So we add these limitations inside of the plugin, and that's how RVA networks and tokens become supported. That's number 2. Number 3, I would say that's all relates to MEV and capture extra value. And I think that's, by the way, I think that's the main problem at the moment. Like post-trade arbitrage, before trade, and also private trading also there. So if you do private trading, it's mostly the same. So nobody see what you are doing, why you should care about MEV, for example. And the last one we have introduced maybe 1 month ago. It's online real-time security monitoring. So thanks to the plugin, potentially we can stop trading activities if something happens. So there's big companies like Chain Analysis and many others who, not many, let's say 2 others, who make a real monitoring of all smart contracts deployed, and they could found malicious behavior like 5 minutes before attack. And thanks to our plugins, they can stop pool and prevent the attack from the pool. So that's, I think, the first time when DEX get protection from external company which could react if they found something bad.
Okay. So we identified 4 categories. One was about dynamic fee, correct?
Right.
Another one is the number 3 was MEV protection. The number
RV.
4 was about security.
RVA.
Number 2 was
RVA.
okay. Or the gating system, essentially whitelist, blacklist.
Right,
You know,
right.
I can give access only to people that I don't know they have traded before this meme coin, therefore they can also participate in this trading, or more specifically KYC people to trade, for example, tokenized equities or something on this line.
I think we also forget another one, number 5. It's regarding liquidity management.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to ask that one. Yes.
Yeah, so that's quite important also.
Yeah, and maybe you can tell a little bit more about Liquidity Manager. And I know that you're also building your Liquidity Manager plugin, if I remember correctly.
That's true. So what is Liquidity Manager? So you know, when you come to consider liquidity DEX, you always have to choose the range for your position and how much token A, how much token B you should put, and of course there are some tips regarding the risk profile and how much APR you will get, but it's still quite complicated for the most of the users, even in DeFi. And LM, it's like smart contract, which you put your money in, and it decides where to put your liquidity, and all the users have the same range. And this range could be changed depending on what's happening on the market, what's happening on the pool. There are many ideas how to manage this one, from Arrakis, Gamma, Steer protocol, DFIH, so maybe it's like 7 or 10 companies which work in this area professionally. And one of great advantage of LLMs also that you, instead of NFT, you got ERC20 token after providing liquidity. Because all positions are the same, it means that we could easily calculate how much revenue you will get in this case. So it means that this token can be used next time in other protocols for lending and other stuff. So it's possible. With NFT, it's a great problem at the moment. So I don't know any good protocols where you can lend your NFT position from Uniswap, let's say, and get some USDT, for example. So that's a problem. And with LM, it's possible, and that's one of the reasons why people provide liquidity there, not just for management, but also for getting ERC20, which could be like divided, sent somewhere, and which get a price.
Okay, that's very interesting. Also because obviously there is much less, let's say, usability and composability of an NFT versus just ERC20 token. And if in this specific case, if I get ERC20 and I can use this as a collateral, maybe I can use USDC, and with the USDC I can at least hedge the delta in a position, and at least I'm not exposed to the price movement. Then maybe I will try to also to hedge gamma. That's another story, but at least I have it's a more capital efficient structure, correct?
That's true. Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so and what about your plugin? So you're also cooking yours.
Yes. So it's I couldn't say that's our I would say core part of a business. So that's extra plugin which you can use, especially if you are young DEX, which just launched. So of course you have an option to integrate existing providers or using ours. I could say that like our metrics are average in comparison with the market. So sometimes it's outperforms like hold position. Sometimes it's worse, but like as you already know, those when you put a liquidity, it means that like you make a bet on low volatility, let's say, in this range anyway. So LM could make it better in average, but could not guarantee your profit in all the scenarios. So that's what's good about our LM, which we already discussed, like plugins. So that's fully on chain. So we, since it's connected to the pool, we know how its price is changed, and we immediately rebalance the position, not waiting for backend, which parse blockchain, understand what's going on, what kind of swaps and trades. So since it's connected to pool, it's fully on chain. So for example, when you make a swap, my position rebalanced or moved because you did it. So it's one transaction. Of course, we can spend more gas on this one, but no backend, no monitoring, no like delays and so on. So that's, by the way, I think great application of plugins or hooks infrastructure when you could design it fully on chain.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Okay, so we have been, you provided a little bit of an incredible overview of these plugins, or at least the coolest that are in the game. In your experience, what you have observed, what are the ones that have been used the most so far? Also because, the transition between, for example, Uniswap V2 and V3 was very fast. V3 to V4, it was not that fast, right? So people didn't run into these, let's say, plugin or hooks. But what are the most important hooks, the most interesting one at the moment?
Good question. So I think that we don't see a big migration because Uniswap V4 is not like an innovation. It's more about changing from product to ecosystem. So right now you can contribute to Uniswap and you can create own pools and so on. So that's we should not expect like moving liquidity to Uni V4 because it's the same as Uni V3. But with ability to expand functionality. I think that the most interesting and important part of this, so what we have learned, we did a lot of research internally to understand how to set dynamic fees, how to set fees, how to balance liquidity, and found that there's no universal or one answer to all these questions because it depends on blockchain. How fast is this? It depends on pair. It depends like when token was created, like current CVL and so on. So what's great that right now we could design pool behavior for every pair, depending on like what chain. Like say, it's completely different behavior should be for Arbitrum and for mainnet because of the block times. So on Ethereum, on mainnet, you will see big trades because it's more chances to get arbitrage during the 12 seconds, right? On Arbitrum, only small trades because arbitrage will not go so fast during the seconds, right? So that's just an example. So we should more focus on small trades on Arbitrum, while we should expect big trades on mainnet. That's how our dynamic fees should be designed, for example. Yep. So that's the case. So for every pool, we should create our own strategy how to manage this pool to get the best results. And we also even found that in some cases we should stop trading completely at all. Yes, because you could not set a dynamic fees and save you from impermanent loss, for example. It's just impossible. And that's just an example. So that's, but a great point is that now we can do it because every pool have own plugins which potentially could be managed by in external way. I know, read information from centralized exchange, had some oracles which can stop or continue trading and so on. So now we can control it. The next question, how to control it. So, but I think we can discuss it later.
Okay, I love it. So the era of one size fit all, it's just ended. Also thanks to the plugin. Yes. I completely see your point, right? So the block time, gas cost, size of the trade, the volatility of the asset. If you're dealing with a meme coin in a meme coin pool and a Bitcoin pool, it's very different. If it is, correlated assets is one thing. If it's completely uncorrelated, it's another thing. So everything, should be theoretically customized if we are trying to provide the best experience for the liquidity providers, for them, I'm one of them, and at the same time also the best probably price execution for users.
That's true. Yes.
Okay. I'm really interested in the evolution of DEXes, and we have seen from the classical V2 that was full range and whatever, that sometimes can still work, but depends. But then we went mostly for concentrated liquidity. Clearly, only concentrated liquidity. It seems to be the new standard. But we also have seen other type of innovation, like for example DLMM, so essentially dynamic liquidity, like in Meteora, in Maverick, and so on and so forth. So how do you see this type of different structure? Is it something that you think is a good innovation? It's an interesting innovation. It can be implemented maybe in Algebra or some form of it via plugin.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I couldn't say that we are big fans of this direction, because like when Maverick was launched, like everyone was excited. Were excited like of the volume and all the stuff, but then I think every person realized that like we accept impermanent loss so often, so frequently, right? So every time we need to understand. So every time when you rebalance, it means that like you accept your losses. So that's the problem. So the best scenario, it's when you set your range and price go inside and back to exact the same price when you started. So that's the best scenario for you as liquidity providers. And when you constantly rebalance, that's a big problem. So in accordance with our research, so at the moment there is no good algorithms which could guarantee when to rebalance, when you should accept and move to the range, and wait, and so on and so on. So that's the big question. So we are not, I would say, believers that we could find one way how to rebalance it all the time. Maybe we could find for some pairs in some situations that's time to rebalance for this pair because we know what will happen next. But it will require analysis for every pair, for every situation, not like in general case. We believe it's impossible.
I see. It's a very complex. I believe we didn't crack it yet, right? So it's a very complex endeavor. If we would have cracked it, we would have almost cracked impermanent loss, but we didn't.
Right.
Didn't yet, at least. I was reading also about tick spacing and the way how liquidity can be structured within Algebra. So is it true that essentially we have a lot of flexibility in the tick spacing, and this can open up, for example, also to plug in for limits, specific limit order?
Yes, so it's one of, I think, most of the popular plugins in our list is limit order plugin. I think that's it's working in a different way, but I will present it in the most simplest way. So limit order, you just put a position in one asset close to the price which you want to achieve, and you work as a liquidity provider. So where the price goes through your liquidity, it means that your liquidity is used for trading and you get another asset. And by the way, why it's good? Because you also get a commission as a liquidity provider. So when you just make a swap and make traditional limit orders, you pay commission. But in this case, commission should be paid to you.
You don't pay fee, of course.
Yeah, you don't pay fee. Yes, that's true. And what's also good that it's fully on chain. So it's I'm sure that you have tried like limit orders, like say on 1-inch platform, and you always depends on like backend stuff. And if there are so many limit orders of other people who wants to make limit order at the moment, the backend is just impossible to check all the trades and execute all of them, because it's like, but here it's fully on chain. And if price on the DEX go through this one, it's you automatically get another asset which you would like to get. The problem is that in this case we get another type of position which we should not go back, right? So if it's executed and it's still liquidity, and potentially when price go back, you get back to your initial asset.
yeah.
That's only one change which have to be implemented. So
Mm-hmm.
now we have two types of liquidity positions. One is traditional ones, and the second type is just for one way.
Oh, okay, I understand your point. Of course, as soon as you touch your limit price and you essentially you're swapping or your assets for another assets without paying fee, but even being paid, then essentially you exit the position and therefore the swap is done.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's very, very cool. All right, all right. Okay, and I think that we briefly touched when you were providing an overview of the type of plugin about MEV protection, and in particular, we have been also discussing on another occasion about protection for backrunning. And I think the name of the plugin is Atlas, if I remember correctly. Do you want to explain a little bit more how it works and how to protect the users?
Sure. So first of all, I think why MEV is extremely important for decentralized exchanges. I think that's one of the reasons, by the way, why Uniswap launched own chain called Unichain, because they realized that all the revenue got a chain, not the protocols. Why is this? Because they see all the transactions which plan to be executed and understand all the arbitrage opportunities and also like execute them at first place. So that's and also they get all the payments from people who wants to arbitrage and ready to pay crazy money to be the first one in a block.
Yeah.
That's how it works in chain. So it's a huge money, and if all of them come to protocol, I think that most of our liquidity providers will be much happier than now. And there are some ideas how to move this value to protocol level. One of idea was to make an auction before every trade. Let's say if Alessio wants to make a trade, myself wants to make a trade, who pay more, it means that you will get ability to trade at first. So that's like basic idea for moving all the auctions back to protocol. There are some limitations to this one because like we need to wait one block for auction, the next block for execution, one block for auction. So it's not so effective at the moment. But for us, what is you mentioned Atlas or Reflex, what they are doing is that after every swap, we could whitelist their smart contract to be executed. So you made a swap on Algebra platform. And automatically, after your swap, we call their smart contract, which knows, thanks to their backend structure, that we got arbitrage opportunity and realize this opportunity. So that's it means that like if you buy a lot on one exchange and price on another exchange was still old one, we can make a trade completely safe to get price discovery on both of them, and like get some money back to a trader and to the DEX and to Algebra as a platform. So that's how it works. And but it's not so easy, to be honest, because like you need to have infrastructure to in real time to understand that this your trade will change the price here and here, how to make arbitrage in one transaction and move money back to the user. But this case really works well also for sandwich attacks, because you could not realize your how it works. So you make a first swap, then swap with the retail guy, and then you make a profit by making the second one, the second swap. But in this case, if after every swap someone made arbitrage, it doesn't make any sense to make it before a swap, because you don't have a chance to get revenue after the swap. So that's surprisingly, it works really well also for sandwich attacks.
Yes, of course. I mean, I didn't think about it. Of course, you miss the other slice of bread, right? So for being a perfect sandwich. Okay, I like it. It's very cool. Okay, and I think last question about plugin, and then well, at least about the plugin types. sometimes for liquidity providers also the interesting phenomenon of just-in-time liquidity, it's obviously a problem, because if someone if let's say there is a big swap coming in and someone front run this big swap, put the liquidity, get part of the fee, remove the liquidity and buy, right? Obviously the people that were in the pool waiting for some big swap and for some volume, they don't essentially they don't get enough cheese for their liquidity. But if I remember correctly, there was a sort of system in Algebra to prevent this. Is this implemented in Algebra Core? Is it implemented as a plugin? Or is not implemented at all? I'm just dreaming about it.
Yes, it was. As far as I remember, it was implemented like even in the previous version of Algebra, so it's not connected to a plugin itself. So that's a way that you could not connect swap and adding and remove liquidity. So in one block or something like this one. So it's you could not add liquidity and remove liquidity in the same block. So we have this limitation. So in this case, if you have like at least two blocks where your liquidity is active, that's fine, because someone else could use your liquidity in different way, and that's okay to pay you for this risk. You know, it's I recently heard about a project which put liquidity, and it monitors what's happening on Binance, and if you see this volatility become on Binance, it removes liquidity. So it's trigger event not on adding liquidity when big swap is coming, but trigger remove liquidity when volatility came to Binance. So it's a completely different way. So it's not a just-in-time put liquidity, but just-in-time remove liquidity when something bad happening on the market. So quite interesting concept, I think.
It is a super interesting concept. I have also a good friend of mine that is also developing this system, and he looks at the volatility also in the option market. He has a forecasting model, and if the volatility is too high, because you are short volatility every time you are entering a position, he remove the liquidity. Very cool. Okay, I think that there are a lot of similarities between plugins and hooks, but also a lot of differences, right? And the approach of Algebra is maybe more like a service provider, B2B, right? And therefore there are opportunities, enhancement and differences. So maybe you can provide a little bit of parallelism between hooks and plugins.
There are like several big differences. First of all, I think we have launched 1 year before Uni V4 became live, and maybe, to be honest, I think we will change something if we launch after Uniswap, but that's what we have at the moment. Number one difference, we believe that we should not have a lot of pools with different plugins. So like Uniswap make it's like wild market. So you have a hook idea, you should deploy your hook with a pool. So there's no way that you could change your hook, so it's connected for the whole time, and if you want to stop using, you need to remove liquidity and create own hook with a new pool. So there's no way that you can use the same liquidity for different hooks, for example. But we found that when we work with the DEX, users don't want to check what is this. So imagine that you come to like Uniswap, we have 10 pools answer against USDC with different plugins. What you have to choose. So what is maybe it's a good APR, but what's about security? That's one, it's work or not, so we don't know. And we found that still people believes to brand. So if you go to QuickSwap, you think that these guys are well known and they checked everything. They checked the plugins which connected. They sure that they good performance. It was audited and so on. So we found that people are not ready to interact with so wild market. So they want like second party who they trust, who checked and put their name that these plugins are good, and they're responsible for upgrade and so on. So that's why we choose to have, let's say, maybe not one, but let's say not more than 3 pools, the same pair with different plugins, because otherwise we will see liquidity fragmentation, and it's a big question for users what's to use and who is responsible for security of all of them.
So no more than three pools with the same pair.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have this like hard code limitation, so potentially you can create more, but I think only one DEX where we can see two pools for the same pair. So most of them just use one pair, and they choose carefully plugins which they want to be connected to this pool, but one pool for liquidity. And the same problem for liquidity providers. So when you come to a list of pools, where to provide your liquidity. So that's also helps you to choose.
Okay, but I have a question before you move on here. So you have a marketplace of plugin, right? So
Right.
ideally there would be, I don't know, ideally thousands of plugin, right? How do we make sure that plugin are not in conflict with one each other? Because probably I can activate more than one plugin on the same pair, right? On the same pool. But how do we make sure that there are no financial, let's say, idiosyncrasy or conflicts between the plugin in the same pool?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we thought about this a lot. And there is no universal answer to this one, unfortunately. So I think that's a very important question. If we go talking about Uniswap V4, you come into Uni V4 and decide you want to create own pool with the plugins. But when we talk with DEXes, we asking like what you would like to achieve. So do you need limit orders? Do you need like, I don't know, dynamic fees? Do you need a farming mechanic? Do you need a KYC checks for some pools? So we help them to build this package. Mm-hmm. And we did a special audit also. So we create a basic package of maybe 5 plugins which connected with each other in one big plugin, and make audit for this one to make sure that there's no contradictions there. But in general, I think that's a really tricky question. How to, so it's we don't see it will be like a Lego connection. So if you want to combine of them, you need to check are they connected good or not, because they could contradict each other and could break your functionality.
Yeah, I would say not really related to security, but more like in terms of financial mechanics. I would say that would be the consideration that I would have. So I would maybe, as you have done, test the bundle from a financial perspective.
That's true. Yes.
Okay. Very, very cool. And what else? I think you were describing, let's say, the first differences between hook and plugins.
The second one we already discussed is upgrade. So we still think that's a big problem if you could not upgrade functionality for your DEX. And without liquidity migration. And for me, it's I always see a heart attack when I go to DeFi Lamensy, guys. It's still like in V2 and liquidity is not used. It's not effective at all, but still there. So if at some moment, Sushi will have like switch, say, guys, now it's become effective, you get more money and you don't need to do anything, I think it will be great. So that's the third one. The second one. The third one, it's about singleton and pool structure. In Uniswap, as you know, that all the tokens are stored in one smart contract called singleton, and while in Algebra we have a traditional pool system. So that's one pool. Our pools are fully separated from each other. So it means that if something happens in one pool, it doesn't affect tokens in the second one. However, it's some advantages in multi-hops if we're talking about Uniswap, because like if you want to exchange token A and it requires token B, exchange token B then token C, it's much cheaper than on Algebra because you need to work with the two pools. However, for one swap, we are much cheaper than Uniswap because of the same. So we have one pool, you want to swap, that's more easy to do without singleton. So that's the third main difference with Uniswap.
Okay, so if there is a multi hope between, let's say, two or more different pool, the singleton have higher gas efficiency, but
Right.
I didn't catch the other situation where Algebra is more efficient. What is the other situation?
It's just one swap.
Ah, one pool. Okay,
because,
because you have done a lot of optimization also in terms of gas efficiency compared with the V3 essentially.
Yes. So this one.
Okay, okay. I think there is, let's say, on the Uniswap V4, essentially, I think everyone can build plugin in a way. So, but I think Algebra is more curating the list of plugins that are available in their marketplace. So it's a little bit more permissioned if you want.
Yes, and it's I think it's also connected with our business. So imagine that you have 100 DEXes, which is
Yes.
use Algebra, and
Yeah.
if you come to us and say, guys, I have a great plugin idea, and if it's really great, in this case, you will be hosted almost immediately. Not immediately, but let's say it will take 1 month to be everywhere on all our DEXes,
Yeah.
on all the chains. On Uniswap, okay, you have created your own plugin. What's next? You have to create own pool. Where you want to create it, like on what chain? Who will provide you liquidity? How you can find this liquidity? So I would say that Algebra much more friendly for external developers because we immediately give you access to our DEXs. It means access to liquidity. So you could be immediately connected to pools with TVL. In Uniswap, okay, that's a great idea, but who will provide you liquidity? Where you can find this one? So as a hook developer, you like building own DEX on top of Uniswap V4. In Algebra, when you develop own plugin, you like, it's a good example with Android phones. So if you develop a game, it means it could be installed on all Android devices. So the same for Algebra. So if you develop a group plugin, it could be immediately distributed and worked on all our DEXs. That's the difference.
I see your point. Of course. Also because, as you were saying before, you can be immediately attached also to another pool. Therefore, you might have immediate liquidity.
Procedures, but it's possible.
Okay. And what about completely another scenario? What if I want to use Algebra, but in order to build, let's say, my secret sauce and my differentiator factors, I want to build my plugin, and I don't want to share my plugin with others. So it's possible, for example, to publish plugins that are, let's say, not open source or not reusable in a way.
Yes. So that's like working as a traditional license space. So you can close it by license. Of course, I think that is someone could rewrite it by own code, and you could protect it 100%. So, but still, it's a good option. And it's maybe I shouldn't touch it, but we feel that if you develop a good plugin, you could come directly to a DEX, not to Algebra, and say, guys, I have a great plugin. I want to connect it to your pools. Let's do it. So pay me like 5% of all the trades which goes through my plugin. So this is also possible. So you got instant working business model. So if you generate a value, you can share part of revenue to DEX for accessing liquidity and get the rest revenue to you. So that's quite fair approach.
Yeah, I see your point. On the other hand, if I want to have maybe access to all of the DEXs, maybe I will put it in your marketplace. So there are also advantages there. Okay, and so what do you think? What is missing, or what do you think what would you like to see built in terms of plugin that is not there yet?
Really good question. So I think that's we need to find a way how to get more value for liquidity providers. Thanks to, I don't know, maybe we already discussed like rebalance, smart rebalancing, maybe MEV, money back to protocol, maybe stop trading at some moment. So in general, connect managers maybe external managers who will control pool behavior depending on some factors, which potentially we don't know all of them at the moment.
Okay, but can a plugin remove liquidity from a pool?
No.
Can't.
Yes, we can.
Okay, because otherwise there might be other level of how do you say, capital efficiency structure. For example, obviously you have monitored what is happening in terms of I would say DeFi hub like Fluid, becoming one of the best DEX, or even having more volume of Uniswap. Euler launching also their swap functions and so on and so forth. So it seems like that things are becoming more and more interconnected because, of course, getting liquidity is super hard. Maybe it's the hardest thing in the world.
Right.
And therefore, when you have liquidity, you gotta use the liquidity in any way possible, right? I think Fluid is even launching perps. I mean, I was listening to one of everything. So what's your stand on that? That you are super, DEX maxi. Do you consider any of these possibility in your idea, or maybe in the future of Algebra?
Yeah, good question. So I think we should touch one of idea which you just mentioned regarding usage of liquidity, and we are also working on this one. So what's the problem in DEX? That when you provide liquidity there, it could work not all the time. So if you provide like very wide range and prices here, this liquidity just doesn't work. And idea is called boosted pools. I think it was introduced by Balancer some time ago. So why not to put this liquidity to lending protocols? And also you mentioned it's quite close. So and we are working on the same concept at the moment. So that's we'll use Morpho and Aave for this one. So if liquidity just stuck in a pool and we don't need it for a trade, why not to put the lending? So and get 5% very stable revenue, and also get extra fees from trades. So that's I think great example when we could combine the best practices, because to be honest, be just a DEX, traditional DEX right now, I don't think it's a sustainable model. Because like we need to get more value for liquidity providers, because liquidity is a king at the moment.
Absolutely, I'm completely with you. That's why I was asking. What about? I mean, I'm sure you've been thinking about it. So what about shifting liquidity from one pool to another pool? So obviously, I want to keep exposure to something. I want to keep exposure to Ethereum derivative, and maybe it's another Ethereum derivative, or I am in USDC. USDT, and all of a sudden the volume is in whatever USDC, USDS, or DAI. So did you also consider this type of possibility? Did anyone ever ask for that?
Yes. So I think we should touch one product which we helped to develop. It's called Main. It's like initially started as AI product. So do you remember in the beginning we discussed that in DEX we could control almost everything at the moment, but we don't know how to control it. So what we need to do if we see that arbitrage wants to make a trade, and if we see like on Binance price go up 10%, what should we do as managers? So that's Main is attempt to react on what's happening on the market, and based on this data manage a pool. And that's number one. And the second one, of course, what you mentioned, that people wants to put money. I would say you want to be in stables and saying, guys, you have a pools. I believe in Etina USD. I believe Falcon USD. I believe in USDT, USDC. I'm okay if I will be in one asset after all your strategies. And then we decide where to put, in what pool, put your liquidity to get the best APR on minute basis, maybe on daily basis, and so on. And that's also how Main is designed. So you choose a strategy that you want to be in what assets. Maybe you want to play on meme coins, and we will care and put liquidity between these pools constantly. But what is more even interesting from my perspective, that's is the question when you should list a new token. So let's see, I don't know, we found that someone listed on Uniswap new token and it got huge volume, like huge volume APR and liquidity just like 1 million. Why not to buy this token automatically on Uniswap, put it on our chain, on our DEX, and use liquidity of people who give us for managing this one. So we call it like CEO of DEX. So let's make a decision as a CEO at DEX to list some tokens, not only just rebalance between existing pools, but also create a pools, set desired fees, maybe stop some pools and remove liquidity because it's not working anymore. Maybe stop DEX and put everything to Morpho for some time because we know what's happening. So we believe that the next step is to develop a manager who remove manual activities which is done by all our DEXs on a daily basis. So right now we see that people just say, okay, I think that commission for this pool should be 1% for the next day. Okay, let's list this one. So it's not effective because you could not monitor it 24 hours every day, but it's changing every second. So that's what it's main about. Let's design DEX where it's not only static pools and dynamic fees, but also pools creation and as you mentioned, rebalance liquidity between the pools. So that's our next big step, I would say.
That's super fascinating. So we are entering in the topic of, let's say, AI-powered, basically DEXs with the project main. Okay, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that. It was possible to reshuffle liquidity according to the user strategy, but also creating pool and eventually pausing pool and maybe changing also the fee in real time according to market condition, maybe stopping pool if the volatility is too high. That's super cool. Okay, so essentially you are you are addressing two main personas if we want, maybe three, but let's start from the two that require more support. On one side is the protocol owner. As you said, you have this data, but can you act on all this data all the time, 24 hours per day manually? Very hard, right? And on the other hand, you're also supporting, if I understood it correctly, also the liquidity providers, like saying, like reshuffling liquidity or providing new opportunity according to the risk profile. Am I understanding correctly? So you're helping both?
Yes. So I think for the first one, we don't care so much. So there's, how to say, if we provide a product where it's called, I know, DEX CEO or like something like this, so where you can deploy it and you set some initial settings as the owner of this DEX. Say, guys, I don't want to list tokens after it should be live at least for 1 hour on Uniswap, for example. So you will set up and maybe change this big settings, not like every toggle, and that's it. So you can manage it, but on another level, because right now you don't need to do this like manual work to monitor what's token are listed on Uniswap. You should not do this one. You should not think how what fees should be set for this pool. And how to rebalance. It's not your work. Your work is to decide what's your goal. So maybe you want to build very stable DEX where is no risks. Let's say, by the way, in main we will have stop loss also and take profit. So it's quite important. So it's if during the night your liquidity position is almost go out, we can bring it out, and you will not get more losses because of price going further, for example. So that's so it's so simple things which are still not implemented, and we want to add this one to DEXs, and I believe after this one it will be much more efficient than before.
Okay. So you're integrating also somehow the features of revert.finance, like remove liquidity, stop loss, all of that. So
we will have our own solution for this one.
They will be directly integrated in it and integrated inside the protocol. That's very cool. Okay, well, that makes me think that, as I often say, everything is becoming a vault, right? And one day the curator will be AI, right? So that's that's basically also what we are going, because as a liquidity provider, I can say, oh, I trust USD, USDT, USDC, USDS, and someone else, maybe also USD0, right? And USDU, and you can just say whatever essentially it's available, you're just potentially swapping, reshaping according to the volume, and these obviously create, for me, that I'm okay with that type of risk profile, more money. That's great. That's the main objective, right, or liquidity provider. On the other hand, for the DEX per se, there is liquidity efficiency, right? So if you don't volume everywhere, yeah, maybe with I don't know, whatever, with few $100,000 of this Bitcoin, you might serve several payers, right? That's very cool. That's very cool. Very exciting.
It's connected. So if you want to get more liquidity, you have to be effective. And effective means that you use liquidity, right? So there's no other way to just have liquidity and do nothing and be effective. So you have to make it efficient and not fragmented and working for every swap and so on. So everything is connected here.
I love it. I really love it. But when are we going to have this main? Where are we with our roadmap?
So it's I hope that we'll release it like by the end of the year, which right now with some talks with of course it's like not everything which we have discussed will be there, so it will take years, but we are now talking with some chains where to launch it, because it will be great if it could be connected to AI, and you could we can use some data to understand. Another scenario which I personally really like, to understand by address who is the person which tried to make a swap, for example, and that's a great example of AI. So if our AI model understands that what is the type of the user, like if it's like guy who making 1,000 trades per hour, it means that okay, we understand who it could be, and in this case we understand our risks. And also just our behavior, or maybe just not accepting this trade, for example. So that's, I think, quite interesting to recognize users based on their data.
Okay, of course, you can essentially provide reward or let's say penalties according if they are a good actor or bad actor, right? So,
good idea.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so and when are we going to? Okay, you will tell us more about main. Maybe we can have another chat in the future when I'm going to launch it, because I think it's super exciting. What will be, just to close this topic, what are the functionalities that will be available at launch? Because I know that we are considering so many things, right? What can we use at launch?
So we are targeting to have 2 or 3 strategies at launch. When you can choose, let's say, as you already mentioned, so you want to be in stables, and you are fine to get like put USDT and back USDC back, and we will take care of this one. So we will choose our pools, and manage between of them to guarantee you the best possible APR, and also with some settings, so you can take profit when it's increased 20% of what you have deposited. So let's say, okay, I'm take profit, I'm done, I wants to join another strategy. USDT, then blue chips like Ether, WBTC, maybe like Link or something like this. And that's 2 main strategies which plan to be launched when it's ready. And then we will add meme coins. But again, it really depends on the chain. So if it's young chain, so what's meme coins will be there? Nothing. Yeah. So it's this open cache. So I think it will depends on what chain we will launch main.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, changing a little bit topic and trying to zooming out now. So what is the future of Algebra, right? So I know, for example, that you are considering also the possibility to go to non-EVM chain. But what do you want to say something about it, and what else are you envisioning?
Okay, it's a tough question about non-EVM chains, because I think that's really big pain for us that we missed Solana. Because right now, if you can see volumes and number of trades, all EVM and Solana, so it's it's dominating for many others EVM chains, but we didn't made right decision to move to Solana. Maybe 2 years ago we should do it, or 3 years ago, and that's I think was a mistake. And for the others non-VM chains, I think that's a quite simple question for us because of our business model. So we are selling our technology to other brands. So how many brands we can sell it if it's based on what's the name of another chains? Even on a Solana, so there are like 5 players, big players. So expect that we could sell it like to 2 of them, but it's not enough, right? So we want that our technology will be used by by 10 or 20 DEXs at least, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to develop this one from business perspective. So it's I think the main reason why we are really carefully considering non-VM chains, because we need to make sure that we could provide our technology to at least 10 companies there. If not, we could not accept investment to this opportunity. That's probably.
I see. Okay, and is there anything else? I think we discussed about so many, news and so exciting new developments also with main. Is there anything else that you see in the future of Algebra, or even not in the future of Algebra, in the future of DEXes? Where are we heading?
Yeah, I think that we should accept that we should stop design like universal product for all the cases. So now, if we want to beat centralized exchanges, we need to be more smart for every pair, for every situation, and also use our liquidity more, as you mentioned. So there's no case that you just provide liquidity to DEX and that's it. So you have to use this liquidity more and more in protocols, in different protocols after this one. So I think we should change it. So and thanks to main and plugins development, our pools becomes much more smart than before, and also looking forward to boosted pools where liquidity will be used in lending protocols and get much more efficiency than before. So that's I think it's a bright future if we implement all our ideas.
Okay, and we're looking forward to this future. As a liquidity provider, I mean, I'm so excited about it, right? And also, sweating less and making more is just, fantastic. So why not?
Yeah, that's it.
Right? I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, obviously, we're also, the more we increase the complexity, the more we need to consider also that there is a higher or wider attack surface, therefore there is more complexity to consider, but I want to believe that we're getting better at that, so there are kind of less hack in a way, so I think it's great. Okay, you have been an entrepreneur in the Web3 space for a very long time, right? So you have seen a lot of up and down of this magical world of Web3. So if you would summarize the most important learning that you had, what would you share with other founders that are listening to our podcast?
I think that one of the great lessons which we got in the beginning, first of all, technology, it's not everything which you need. So if you think that you are a great mind, you could develop a great idea, it's not enough. So you need to find a way how to promote it, how to grow business, how to connect to right people and so on. So that's a great part of a business which you should accept. Another one that all the protocols, big protocols, which are successful right now, they spend years for development. So I think there are some rare cases just when guys just do something and deploy in 2 months, get millions. But there are only a few. So recently I learned that Fluid was developed for 2 years internally without any announcement. So, but when it's launched, you say, okay, why? It's new DEX. The new guys, how it's possible they did it? But it's a long way to make something really big. So be ready for long work and at one moment you will get some success, and there's only the way. So don't expect fast success without enough resources and enough time deployed to this one.
I love that, right? So it's true that in the Web3 space there were inefficiencies. Something was put live with the right chain at the right time,
Right.
and somehow you sweat little, but you got a lot, right? But also the competitive space is changing. Now there are a lot of, there is a lot of technology that can be deployed fairly fast on several different chains. Copy and paste are everywhere. And
Yes.
Vladimir is telling us you got to sweat if you want to win, and I love that. I really love that.
Exactly.
The guys of Fluid, first they built the startup. Before the startup, they were working with everyone in the space. I think they were working with MakerDAO when it was still called MakerDAO. If I remember correctly, they were building Upgrade and supporting. So they have done a long journey before getting to Fluid, and
Right.
that's what many people out there don't see. Okay. Amazing. I think we've been was such an amazing discussion. We've been a little bit, kind of a bit over time, so we let's start to close here. But before we do, how people can get in touch with you? Obviously, if they want to integrate with Algebra, if they want to build a plugin for Algebra, or even if they are already interested in main.
Okay. So first of all, if you consider to launch own DEX, please research Algebra, because we try to build the best engine and with most popular features which are available on the market inside. So I don't know any other so powerful protocol which could close your needs as a DEX. So please research Algebra at first. And of course, you can find me in Twitter, and thanks to this podcast, my name in Twitter will be there. And also, Right to Crypto Algebra is our nickname in Twitter also. So, looking forward for new partnerships, new ideas, and happy to help you to grow with all our networks of our DEXs, aggregators, cross-chain bridges, all of them integrated with Algebra. So, let's grow together.
Fantastic, Vladimir. It has been fantastic discussing with you. So many information, so incredible knowledge. I'm very grateful for your contribution. Thanks again. We'll chat again when main is live.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks so much. Bye.